Hello, Jenny Hall here for Trinity Stamps. Today I would like to share another new product with you from the June 2020 birthday release from Trinity Stamps. There is a gorgeous long rainbow die that's perfect for a slimline card, and then a beautiful cloud bank, and we also have a couple of corner cloud banks that can go in either direction. You can have them standing up or they can lay on their sides, and it works either way. Really cool. Now I'm going to pair this with the very wonderful stamps and dies that are not new, but they're still very adorable, well loved in my craft room. First, I'm going to secure this die down to the paper. This helps me to make sure that the die doesn't move around in my die cutting machine. And then when I take all the pieces out, I try to keep them in order. That helps me be able to know which of the arcs is going to go where, especially when I'm going to be adding color. The color choices that I made for this project are a little bit weird. Looking back on it, I'm thinking to myself, wow, maybe I should have gone with more traditional rainbow colors. But I see a lot of traditional rainbows out in our handmade card world, and it occurred to me that I could just do some colors that were off, just a little bit summerish and ice creamy and just something different. So that was what was behind my color choice. I chose to use Copic Markers in order to make the colors stick down to my individual arcs of the rainbow, but you can certainly ink blend them. There is a very thin strip at the narrow end of the rainbow, so if you're going to use ink blending, I would suggest cutting out all of the pieces and then working very carefully. Add the ink to each of the bows, or you could use colored cardstock. Colored cardstock would do this wonderfully. I'm adhering all of the pieces down to a piece of printer paper. That's going to help me be able to move this rainbow around as a whole. It's not necessarily the way that it must be done, but it's what works for me, is to make a foundation so that I can more easily move these pieces around. I used the Copic marker in order to just make sure that the top and the bottom cut of where the printer paper was didn't stick out any white paper, so the Copic marker along the edge worked perfectly. Now I'm using one of Trinity Stamps Slimline dies. This is the 8, I forget which it's called. This is scallops and banners, and I'll make sure to link it in the video description. But I'm adding a very, very, very light amount of blue ink on 3 with the Trinity Blending Buddy. I'm trying to use the ink that's already on the brush so that I can get that very, very light look. And I decided to create some sparkling clouds with some white glitter paper. And that was something that I thought about for a long time. And then I thought, well, why not? Let's just go for glitter paper. Now I'm going to stamp these images out on some Bristol paper, and I'm coloring them with the zig markers. It's easy for me to use just a couple of shades of the marker and then either use a wet paintbrush or the blender marker, which doesn't have any color. It just has the same coloring solution as the rest of the markers do. And that helps me to move around the color without really diluting it. I decided to stick to the same color scheme as the rest of the rainbow because the colors are going to be so brightly featured on the card that I thought it would be really great to make sure that I kind of stayed in the same color family. So I'm going to color up both of these beautiful little ladies, and then I will crop them out with the coordinating dies. Working on Bristol paper works very well for my use on the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I don't have as much luck on watercolor paper. I find that they tend to work so much better on Bristol paper. So if you have not tried them yet on Bristol paper, it's worth a try. Now I'm going to add the simple sentiment from the stamp set that's called A Sentiment for Almost Everything. And I'm going to just stamp that directly on this panel here with some black ink. I felt that the black ink would coordinate nicely with the black stamped lines for the little fairy moths. And then I'm going to add this panel directly to a slimline card base. And once it's folded, it measures 3.5 inches tall by 8.5 inches wide. Now I'm going to take this rainbow unit and see how it just works out so easy for me when I have it already adhered to a piece of printer paper. And I can just take it and move it anywhere I like. And then I'm going to add those clouds. And there's a little bit of foam tape on each one of the cloud banks. I thought about turning it the other direction, but I wanted each side of the rainbow to be covered, like the left part of the rainbow versus the right part of the rainbow. Now I'm going to put my two little fairies right onto the card front, and then I will finish it off with some Fairy Rocks Rhinestones from Trinity Stamps. I'm using the Trinity Stamps Tidy Tray here. I like to sprinkle out a few of the rhinestones and then use the Marvy Jewel Picker to pick up exactly the one and the size that I want. The Tidy Tray and the Jewel Picker are both available in the Trinity shops. That's going to finish off this card. It's relatively simple, even though there's feels like there's quite a bit of coloring, but it ended up being a pretty fast project start to finish. I hope you've enjoyed watching along, and we would love for you to like and subscribe to the Trinity channel. There's also a group on Facebook, Imagination Conversation, and if you're not a member yet, then check it out and you'll come up with lots more creative ideas. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.